Welcome to Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. Each week, the NI Bullpen will be covering the world of comics, talking to creators, deep diving into some fantastic stories, and much more. Now let's hand it over to the team and turn a page.
Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you are tuned in to Turn a Page, the official comic book club on Nerd Initiative. My name is Ken M. You know me as the host of the ODPH podcast. I'm also Nerd Initiative editor-in-chief. To my left, you're right at home because it's in his contract.
Coming at you live and direct straight from the ODPH studio. My name is Off the Cuff Tom, Nerd Initiative's pop culture connoisseur. Ken, Lauren, and maybe Matt. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. We are joined by our returning co-hosts. You know them as a dynamic duo of Drafts and Dialogue. One is tuning in. He's having a little technical difficulties, but fear not, he will be here as well. But we have the team behind Hops Geeks News, bringing you that pop culture dialogue you need each and every week. Lauren and Matt, what is going on?
There's Matt. We found him.
My actual computer is not working with the internet for some reason, so I had to run downstairs and get my laptop, and I ran right back really fast and I connected everything, and we're here. Hello.
It's probably Debbie's fault. We're doing this through Debbie, but yeah, I'm very excited to talk Hulk number 340 because I'm still riding that high of Deadpool and Wolverine. I saw it again this past weekend, so I actually read the one where he's on the big X today too. So and I pulled out the original first appearance, 180 and 181 as well. So I am just loving Wolverine even more than I normally do these days.
And that is truly saying something because Lauren's probably the biggest Wolverine fan I know. And obviously with the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, we thought for this week's edition, we'd give a little focus to Wolverine against one of his more unfriendly rivals, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of in the gray when you think about it.
Oh, very well put.
Thank you.
Because ever since his first appearance in Incredible Hulk 180, and technically 181 if you want to get really specific, Wolverine has had a very interesting history with the Hulk.
That's right.
So in comparison to his, dare we call it his frenemyship with Deadpool, it's been one that's been challenged quite some times, but there's been few issues like this one that we're going to talk about tonight. Incredible Hulk 340 from Marvel Comics from 1988 with Peter David and Todd McFarlane, the creative duo behind this, along the road with Petra Scozzia and Rick Parker. So, team, first and foremost, since Matt and Lauren are returning from vacation, can you give us your opinions on Deadpool and Wolverine? Because we know we're going to kind of segue a little bit back and forth with that because of the comparison of pairings here.
Do you want to go first, Matt?
Sure. I've seen it twice as well. We saw it in London together. Then I went 2 days later, the day after I got back. Actually, the day I pretty much got back from London. And man, it is a top 5 MCU movie for me, hands down, without a doubt. It is a love letter to the Fox universe that we all grew up with, kind of in our own nerddom, introduced with the X-Men. Even as far back as Blade, and it's beautiful, man. It isn't just pure humor. There is a lot of real emotion behind this film, and it makes you feel good inside. It really did. It was amazing. That's all. It was top 5 MCU movie for me, hands down.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely up there for me as well. My literal only complaint was that they put way too much in the trailers. And part of that, I blame myself. I usually only watch the first trailer, but I had no patience with this movie and watched every trailer I could. So I would have liked for more things to be surprises that we saw in the trailers. But I absolutely loved it. I thought it was, going to the emotion aspect, you have these two characters that don't know how to use their words. They're just so emotionally constipated, and they just took it out on each other. And it was so fun to watch. And it was therapeutic, I feel like, for them as well. And, we saw the evolution of their friendship. And I thought it was very similar to when we do see them in the comics together, because Wolverine is always annoyed with Deadpool, but he cares for them and they care for each other. And I just thought it was a great time, and the soundtrack was amazing. And as soon as the movie kicked off, I don't want to say anything for people who haven't seen it yet, but I mean, they honored Logan's legacy, I guess, but it was just, I loved it.
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
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 So
Tom?
it was a good
Wear
time.
the brown pants because you were literally going to yourself everything you see.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like it really delivered on a lot of things, and it really kind of showed about how Wolverine can really pair up with somebody really well. But in comparison to who we're going to be talking about tonight, there is a very stark contrast because these two have never really gotten along, even as far as a friendly rivalry goes. Where we've seen with Deadpool, and I know a lot of MCU fans have been asking about this as well too. Is now that we saw a little glimpse of the Red Hulk being in the Captain America: Brave New World trailer. Is there a possibility about Wolverine maybe meeting up with the Hulk? So that's kind of what led us to our conversation for tonight. And this is one issue that definitely, I would say, will get a little homage on the big screen if they ever decide to go that route.
And technically, the cover was featured in that half a second in Deadpool. So that's what even makes it more prevalent to do this week.
Yeah.
Indeed. So that being said, if you're new to the show, what we like to do is give you a spoiler-free statement about the book we're going to be talking about. So if you haven't seen this, we give you fair warning. I mean, obviously, it's been out for quite some time, but we like to give that spoiler-free statement, and then we go deep diving into everything. Yeah, it's older than a lot of us here.
It is older than Matt.
Yeah, but it still leaves a lasting impression. So let's go around the panel here tonight, starting with you, Lauren. What is your spoiler-free impression from Incredible Hulk 340?
I very much so enjoyed it. I think that it's a great pair because they are so different, but they are also very similar as well because they both have that anger, that berserker rage inside of them. And you see Wolverine tries to struggle with it more so as Wolverine, whereas, with Bruce Banner, it's more of a split personality kind of thing. So, but it's very interesting to see how their characters have developed too, because they even reference the first appearance where it's like, why are you always doing this to me? I just want to be left alone. But they're just, so very different and so very similar. And I would love to see them on the big screen together. I think that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Matt, how about you?
Yeah, I fully agree. My first introduction ever into like Wolverine and Hulk was that animated short. It was like 55 minutes or something that they had come out a long time ago, actually. And then I was like, oh, this is cool. And so then I was like, hey, I want to dive in. Like, when have they fought in comics? Because, I was kind of newer to the comic book world then. And so getting to read this and revisit it all over again was fantastic. I love, the Hulk is known to be like that stupid guy. But in this, he makes a point to be like, I'm smart now. And Wolverine just like is tired. It's a Wolverine. It's like, I'm a changed man. But then they kind of go toe to toe for a bit. It was a wonderful, wonderful, good little read.
All right, Tom?
Yeah, I got to say, Matt made a very good reference to those two Hulk versus short movies they did. Marvel did right around the same time as like Next Avengers and everything. For me, as much as this is an Incredible Hulk story, I got way more Wolverine out of it. That's just me. Maybe it's because, again, being on the heels of the movie. I also don't have a necessary thing with Joe Fixit, but still, the best single word I can put on this is raw.
Yeah.
That's a very fair statement. I mean, for me, being somebody that's read Peter David's work on Incredible Hulk, and it's one of the best runs in all of comics, 12 years.
Yeah, 12.
Of writing and really crafting a character that became very more complex as the years had gone on under his writing than we had seen in previous incarnations on TV and in cartoons and even in the early days of Marvel. To give him the different personalities that we've seen forged, and you see Professor Hulk, which we've seen a lot in the MCU. And in this case, we have seen Joe Fixit, which is arguably one of my favorite personalities of the Hulk, because in this scenario, it's really Banner's evil side coming out. He's not somebody that's a nice guy. He's just the guy.
Oh, see, now I got to argue. I don't think that Joe Fixit is the mean side. I think that Joe Fixit is more of the angry teenage angst and getting out. So I wouldn't say necessarily bad, but that's just, I mean, knowing now at this point, how many different versions of the dissociative idea, DID that he's got. I think the Joe Fixit's more of that angsty teen, like seriously, just, give him the haircut and
Hulk does have the emo haircut in this.
And I'm smarter now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it also depends too. Like if you really read this run and when he's out in Vegas and what he's doing out there, almost doing his best Goodfellas impression out
yeah.
there. Like I say, there's so much elements to this story, and when you start seeing this crossover to the rest of the MCU, this is a brand new take at this time, because we have to remember he literally just went from being originally gray to green. Now he's gray. He's smart. He's very conniving. He's very tactful in every what he does, except in moments where he lets the Banner side loose, per se. And that's where we kind of kick off with this issue too, because he's coming off of his wife leaving him. He's not in a good place at all. And more or less, he's trying to stop the leader who's trying to get his hands on any kind of gamma bombs he can, and winds up taking off from Clay Quartermain and Rick Jones, Jones being his longtime sidekick. And this really kind of sets the tempo, because it just seems like he's blowing off steam and flying away. Meanwhile, in the air, a certain ship is flying through and not really getting the air clearance. So, Matt, as you're seeing this unfold, who do we have crashing the party?
Oh, I mean, Hulk's obviously just on his own little foray, frolicking through the woods, and then the X-Men are sitting there, and then of course the ATC is telling the X-Men they need to announce themselves now, and Wolverine's being grouchy, and I love that Rogue is like, come on, sugar, don't be so grumpy over there, and he's like, just grouchy old man, even though he's supposed to be changed. It was a fun little like contrast where, again, like that panel right there, just it really is just Hulk just frolicking through the woods, just hilarious. And yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Can you please stop saying frolicking?
I'm saying frolicking because Hulk is frolicking.
Deadpool frolics. I don't know if Hulk
as
frolics.
he should.
Yeah.
Hulk don't frolic. Hulk smash.
Well, I mean, in this case, he is frolicking a little bit. So, chat, super chat, definitely throw your vote. Was Hulk frolicking in the woods for this? A yes or no? We'll definitely get this vote in. Lauren, what's your take on this opening sequence?
Oh, I of course loved it because, obviously we see the X-Men jet, but we also see the words bub. So I know exactly who's talking. So right away I'm like, yep, here we go. And this could not be a more 80s depiction of the X-Men than, Rogue's hair. It's like she's mimicking. Her hair looks like Wolverine's hair. It's quite hilarious. But it's also fun because we don't get those moments where Wolverine agrees to be the leader and he's struggling with being the leader because he's agreed to it. He's often a leader, but he denies that he is, and he's more of a loner. So he ends up by default being the leader. But this is like not his go-to, not where he's comfortable actually taking command. So, but I like this comment where, why aren't you getting mad or whatever? And he's like, oh, there's no point. And what's the point of getting, upset about the situation? But it was hard to look at them and take some of them seriously with this hair.
Yeah,
the 80s, man.
The 80s are a wild time at Marvel. We'll just kind of put it that way. And especially,
it's not like the 90s were any better. Let's be honest.
Well, they were in a lot of cases, and then they weren't in a lot of
cases and pouches, right?
Yeah, like I say, you can't go wrong with the leather coats and the multiple pouches. We still have to go into that about Nerd Initiative pouches. We haven't forgotten about that. But when we start seeing this lineup too, like this is one that is really a vintage lineup in its own right, and it's one that has its own unique history with the X-Men too, because right around this time is when the Fall of the Mutants is happening too, which is a very legendary crossover that's going on throughout the 3 mutant books at the time. I know that seems very wild to say that there's only 3 at that time. Technically 4 with, I believe Wolverine was already getting rolled out.
Look at where we're at now.
And now it's a plethora of X-Men titles on the shelves each and every month.
Now at that time it would be Uncanny, Astonishing.
Nope.
Uncanny.
Uncanny had always been the flagship book until 1993.
Okay.
And then that's when they did the adjectiveless X-Men. We had New Mutants at the time. And we also had X Factor, which a little fun fact too, which was the original members of the X-Men. So Cyclops, Jean Grey, Angel, Iceman, and Beast, when they came back out of retirement and formed X Factor. Before this issue happened, there's a great 2-part story involving Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Iceman confronting the Hulk. So if you want to go back in and see that story, I highly recommend that one as well. But now we get the real deal X-Men 2, and we see that when they're kind of coming in, obviously flying into this ordeal, a lot is going on. Storm, who's their leader at this time, is depowered. Wolverine has to step up in this role. And as they're flying, an unidentified flying object hits them. And we see at home that it's Bruce Banner, who is not giving anything about what he's bumping into. In fact, he's even like, what the heck was that? Meanwhile, when he goes and hits the Blackbird, he winds up hitting a Pan Am jet and winds up taking out one of their engines. So Rogue, who at this point has the powers of Carol Danvers,
Miss Marvel.
Yep. Goes and has to have this debate with Wolverine about what to do. And Wolverine's like, throw that engine on the ground. And she's like, it could hurt hundreds of people. He's like, yeah, but the plane would be worse. So we got to make sacrifices. Well, I'll go down and investigate, see what happens.
Yeah, it's the old like kill one to save 100 kind of thing. It's
Needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Exactly.
But he wasn't necessarily targeting anybody. He was just saying, hopefully, because he even said, like, hopefully nobody's out in this storm. And, if they are, well, you wanted to go see how crazy it was after the hurricane, and you got electrocuted.
Making an educated wish.
Yes, he is. Well played. So as he makes that educated wish, the wish does not come true for one Bruce Banner, because as he's on the ground, well,
frolicking.
He gets hit while he's frolicking with the engine from the plane. And then he kind of has to bump into his search for food, because at this point, he's really just trying to get his mind off everything that's going on. Like, he can't stop the leader, who is trying to acquire as much gamma bombs as he can. He's obviously dealing with a lot of stress with his strained relationship with Betty Ross. So he just wants to be left alone. But obviously, if you're the Hulk and you're running or frolicking through the woods, you're going to draw a lot of attention from most military and governments to kind of find out what you're doing. And this is where it really leads into a lot of drama here, because he gets attacked, and Banner at this point is just he's just like unreasonable, and he's just over it, like you touched upon, Lauren, and just goes right into action. And this draws Wolverine out to the ground here, and then he's kind of investigating what's going on. And this kind of leads into an interesting scenario, because Lauren, I'll start with you. Wolverine, you see him come on the ground. He doesn't realize who he's facing at this point, but the monologue, which I love how they set up here with the coloring of yellow, it's Wolverine talking what he's seeing out loud, and he's hinting at how much this is very familiar to him, and he knows what's coming. Like, how would you interpret that scene?
Well, I mean, it kind of, because he mentioned that it smells like the Hulk, but different. So I guess it was just showing that, a lot has changed since the last time he saw him. And so he's trying to figure out, because he's also trying to not fight, which I thought was very interesting. Like, that's usually Wolverine's not go-to motive of ask questions, then punch. He's usually a punch, then ask questions. So it was very interesting to see him want to try to take a moment, and he can tell that this isn't the same Hulk, and he's trying to talk, but at the end of the day, they both, just have their primal urges, just kind of berserker rage, Hulk, fighting, just kind of take over. But I thought it was very interesting to see him truly, it was like he was arguing with himself and arguing with Hulk to not fight.
Mm-hmm. Tom, how about you?
It's almost like he's addicted to fighting. Fight the fight to not fight.
I think that at this point, seeing Bruce, Joe, Hulk, whoever, he's very much, in his feelings. And that is one thing that,
he's hangry.
And he's hangry too. But at this point, to see how vulnerable Hulk is, he really is at the screw you guys, I'm going home and I'm taking all my toys with me. He is very much in that type of mode, and he doesn't care. He's being the big bully on the block that nobody wants to play with. And he just don't give two hulking F's about it.
Yeah.
Well, he does say, why do you keep messing with me? I just want to be left alone. He really just wants to be left alone.
I mean, Matt, when you're seeing this unfold, like, what do you think is going to happen here?
I mean, it's really cool. Like you mentioned about the inner monologue, right? Because one of the things I really, really enjoyed is the fact that like Wolverine, it plays into his senses. Something we often gets overlooked is Wolverine's sense of smell and hearing. And he's like leaning into those senses in this at this point. Yeah, he's like, something smells familiar. Like, he's like, I recognize the smell. And he's also like not looking for a fight. Again, this is like a Wolverine that's different. He's changed, as he keeps reiterating at the beginning there. And something feels familiar. He knows what's coming, but he also doesn't want any part of it, which is the usual, it's a departure from our usual thoughts of Wolverine's ready to stand on business at any moment.
So could we call him the Reserverine?
I mean, we could. We never had a Wolverine like this.
I think at this stage,
it's like nice pool.
Yeah, well, you have to think about it in this perspective. He knows at this stage, like there's a lot going on with the X-Men and trying to get on their mission because they know that there's a big showdown happening in Dallas that they're going to have to address. He's kind of in a very unique place that he hasn't been in before, where it's kind of like he's understanding there's more to this than just me being a rabid fighter. Like there's more to life than conflict. And
there's so much relying on him right now because he is the linchpin leader of the X-Men.
Yeah, he's
reluctant.
Yeah, he's a reluctant, but he has to step up and do this. So when he goes to investigate what happens on the ground, he knows what's coming, and he can get the sense the Hulk. And as soon as he gets the sense that he's coming, and even the shot of just Banner just growling, like he knows, like, yeah, let's let off some steam. This is when Wolverine has to go into attack mode.
Lord, he's coming.
And we see the early McFarlane artwork here, and you just see how he's trying to hold back, and Wolverine is trying to be like just peaceful, which I know throws readers off a lot. But in this situation, I think he understands there's more to this than dealing with the Hulk. He knows the Hulk firsthand. So he's like, this is going to get me nowhere. And the Hulk is just not taking no for an answer. He wants to fight because he needs to let off some steam. And he is just unwilling to let Wolverine walk away. He's like, then you'll die today.
Is this the first time that we've had Joe Fixit versus Wolverine?
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay. So, yeah, it would definitely figure out that, you're different. I'm going to talk to you. Again, being that reserved leader that he needs to be. It makes perfect sense for Logan to take a beat and say, hey, what's up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love how the dialogue here, too, is Joe Fixit is taunting him the entire time, and even brings back about like when we first met in Canada. He's like, yeah, I wanted to be alone, but you wouldn't let me. And he's like, yeah, you know what? He's like, and Wolverine's like, I've changed. He goes, yeah, you've changed. Yeah, I've gotten smarter and you've gotten gutless. Dropping that line on him.
Yeah, that's a good line.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
Hulk is talking his ish, man.
Yeah, I was like, this is how you know this is a way different Hulk than that first encounter. Because he wants all the smoke, and he is literally saying, like, we're doing this and you're not walking away. Like, I need to fight somebody. You're going to be who I'm going to fight. And Logan is just sitting there, and like to see him just kind of just bite his tongue as long as he can. And then he just has the moment of clarity where he's like, all right,
okay, bub,
let's go.
Go right ahead, yes, and in that moment, I got the "let's effing go" vibe.
Yep,
like from the movie. Like there was that one panel, like when you feel it right there when he's just like, all right,
he manages to like really mess Hulk up. At obviously he slashes him up really good, and then he's like, wait a second, Gamma.
Let's not forget the Gamma clap. Okay, it's one of my favorite moves from Hulk.
Oh,
and knowing with Wolverine's enhanced senses, ow.
Yeah, I mean, let's even just take a look at the artwork on the screen right now. And you just see that initial Berserker Rage kick in, and he impales Hulk. And you see how he goes, almost like you're watching this through Hulk's eyes, too, on that first page. That just everything goes dark. And then Wolverine just lets out his animalistic yell. And then Hulk is just sitting there slowly getting up, and he's like, yeah, let's do this over again.
Now, can I also chime in on this one? If you notice, now I don't know if this was just because of printing back in the 80s or whatnot, but the colors for Wolverine are lighter. Now, is that trying to show his heat, his rage, his row?
Meow.
Or is that just from a printing mistake because of it's the 80s? You can only get so many colors out of a press.
I'm going to lean into it's just the 80s and the coloring at that time.
Okay. I'm going to lean the way I said.
No, it's perfectly fine. Super chat, throw you're picking about that as well. I think it's a really interesting scenario that it might be, but I think that they really just want to exemplify like Wolverine is taking it to the Hulk for anybody that doubts it, especially when he's in the Fix-It era. So when you're seeing all this play out, like it's really making that loud of a statement. And especially when you see Wolverine kind of struggle to deal with what's going on. And meanwhile, you're seeing that back in their little traveling vehicle, Rick Jones and Clay are trying to sit there and analyze what's going on with the Hulk and just saying, well, you think he'll be more distracted with Betty or the leader. And it ties into the overall story that's been going on here and how this goes back to this is the Hulk trying to find an escape from reality. And it's really interesting to see that David sets it up like that. But I think it's brilliant because we always just see Hulk as just very, straightforward. There's no kind of like multi-layers going on, but yet we do throw these elements of emotion in, and it really kind of it shows this character in a new phase and a new light. And then to kind of mix this in with a fight, I'll go back to Lauren. As we're seeing this transpire, you're just seeing it's getting more vicious as it's going, and how Wolverine is just sitting there doing what he can, but the Hulk is taking it right to him. Like,
yeah. Well, I thought it was very interesting because Wolverine even says, I didn't think his skin was penetrable, but apparently he just like heals really quick. But the more he fought him, the more strategic and the stronger Hulk got. So I feel like that is like the worst kind of enemy you could have in a fight, is somebody who the harder you give it to them, the harder they give it back. Yeah. So it's definitely a very different fight than what he's used to when he fights the Hulk.
Matt, what do you think about this fight going on?
Yeah, it's interesting. It starts off kind of brutal and vicious, and then Wolverine's like, oh crap, he has like the ability. His cancer makes him stronger, and he gets angrier. The angrier he gets, the stronger he gets, and stuff like that. And I think it's a really good like back and forth. It's over quick, kind of quicker than I expected as well. The battle is, but each one kind of has their moment to shine. In the grand scheme of things, they each get their hits in. The gamma clap and the initial slashes, and they both are seriously talking some mad crap at the same time, which is why I also love it, because I just really love when Hulk just leans into talking crap. He is, and
like a little kid.
That's my thing. It's like, I love talking crap. So anytime I get like a fight sequence, because if I had superpowers, I'm gonna be honest, man, I'd be doing the same thing. I would be talking so much crap that Doom himself would come down and just smite me. But I really enjoyed this fight for what it was. Although it was short, I really enjoyed it.
Well, the artwork. But that artwork, like when you can see them in each other's eyes, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
and it's even cooler when you look at the eyes side by side. That's some amazing art, unique perspectives.
Yeah, when McFarlane sets that panel up, like we'll get to that in just one sec. I thought that was just so brilliant.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but Tom, just to go quickly with you, like I say, you're watching this. Is this living up to your expectations?
It's totally living up to my expectations. And what I also love about the fact that, Logan is still monologuing in his head, and we're getting his perspective on the Hulk and in the fight. As much as Joe Fixit is smarter now, they don't go with it. Like, you could have done the monologuing bubbles of Banner, but they chose not to. Like, this is a great perspective on Wolverine. And because of the fact that, Joe is just going and going and going and going, he doesn't have that time to think. So I think that's why the dichotomy between I'm smarter, but I'm the one thinking.
Yeah. Like for me, and I know Matt will get this reference. This is Drew McIntyre, CM Punk.
Yeah.
This is just them going at it and not letting the other one have the upper hand, no matter what.
What did they say?
I don't know. I'm guessing a
yes,
wrestling
indeed.
thing.
Sure.
But for more wrestling talk, Wrestling Night Live every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Nerd Initiative YouTube. But back to the fight at hand, and we get that panel too to go back up to that art sequence, and we get the side-by-side panel in the third page here.
Oh, so sexy.
And this is so brilliant for McFarlane too, to set this up. You see what the other is seeing. You're having that head-to-head, and just really that climactic just collapse onto each other. This is just perfect setup, and you can definitely feel the pacing build for this. So like I say, using David's script and just bringing this out and just doing like it's so subtle, but yet it works on so many levels that I thought like this was probably the strongest piece in the entire book. And then when you finally see how it resolves, I'll just go with Matt first, just how this all ends. Like, what is your take from this?
Mom came in and told the boys to stop fighting. Like, cut it out. I do it with my kids. My kids all the time fight, and then one starts to get a little hurt, and I'm like, all right, guys, cut it out. That's exactly what happens here. Mom steps in and is like, all right,
You've had your
enough.
fun.
Because that's kind of what it is. Like both of them can heal, both of them are laying hits, and then it gets to a point where steps in and it's just like, hey, all right, you've got everyone's gotten their hits in. I hope you feel better now. You got out of your system. Time, we got to focus on real stuff now.
So Matt is a fan of mutual destruction. I got it. Okay.
Of course.
Yeah. Lauren, how about you?
I think Matt nailed it on the head with the mom thing, because he's even like wagging a finger and like yelling at Wolverine too.
And Wolverine's like, what did I do? You started it.
Yeah.
Wolverine, you got somewhere else to be.
No, Wolverine has that look of like, he's almost like, yeah, you're right. Like it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I mean, I believe he brings up Hulk or Banner too about like, what is Banner going to say or having to deal with Banner about it. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, I mean that at first they seemed like they were concerned about interfering with the Hulk, and then he just went out there like, yeah, like a mom on fire, like get your ass in the house right now. What are you two doing?
No.
When he makes the comment about needing the hose to be sprayed on them because they're animals, and that's what he did. It was the verbal hose.
It's a wild
Hold them
sequence.
both by their ear. Now you get back inside, young man.
Yeah. Tom?
Yeah, what mom said.
Yeah. I mean, literally, that's just how they come in. Because, I mean, for Rick Jones, too, and especially in this panel, he's just standing watching. And he almost has that look like, oh, here we go again. Like, he's not even fazed by this at all. And meanwhile, Clay Quartermain is going crazy about this and just laying into everybody. And to see how Wolverine's reacting and just the head dropped, and he's like, yeah, you're right. And meanwhile, Hulk's like just still yelling at him, and he's like, fine, let's just get out of here. I'm done with this. And he doesn't want to concede that he has lost this fight with them. But meanwhile, like you just kind of see Wolverine is just saying, yeah, you're completely right. Like, this is who I am, and this is who I'm going to always be. And this really kind of just trails off into where they're going next with the story for Banner, because it also ultimately ties back into how Betty Ross is left right now and this time period too, and how that's really taken an emotional toll on Banner. And we finally see the breakdown of the Hulk, and we get like this very powerful scene with Betty. But it just kind of wraps up about where he is now in the timeline with Fix-It. And can he really make himself into a better version of himself? Because when he starts mutating and like kind of messing with the personalities that he does, he's always just trying to find a cure for himself, but he's also trying to make himself better at the same time. So it really provides for some great storytelling that happens here. So that being said, we talked a lot about the story itself and a lot we liked. I'll start with Tom. We always break down the good and the bad. So what was something you didn't like about this book?
Rogue's 80s haircut. That's about honest to God. So I was trying to read it on Marvel U on my phone, and I could not do it until I got my full screen. I honestly thought it was a completely different character until just by silhouette alone. I don't really think there was anything necessarily taking away from the book. Nothing distracting, nothing really wrong about it. So I got nothing.
All right, that's fair. All right, Matt, how about you?
I really don't have any complaints, honestly. Like, I came to see Hulk and Wolverine beat the crap out of each other, and I got Hulk and Wolverine beating the crap out of each other. I got to see, the X-Men in their glory. We got to get some really good action moments, some really memorable sequences. The artwork was pretty beautiful. The inner monologue of Wolverine and the duality of the two of them, and I'm really happy. I don't really have any complaints. I overall, it was a really fun read, man, as comics should be at times. It was just like one of those filler episodes that you need at times.
Yeah. Lauren, how about you?
I'm going to say the worst part was Dazzler.
That's right. Dazzler was in this. I forgot.
No, my mom had that Psylocke hairdo, okay, for a very long time. I'm just saying.
I was going to say she looked like a mom in the 80s. She did not look like an X-Men on the jet about to go,
yeah, but imagine you get your ass beat by someone with that haircut.
But
I have pictures.
That was exactly what I thought. Like, these are mom haircuts in the 80s. And I mean, at least Rogue looked like she was going partying.
Yeah, I mean, at that point too, like Rogue had that punk hairdo that was going on. Like that was just something.
Flock of Seagulls. That's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, but that's just a reflection of the time period it's in. Which, I mean, we always kind of have to keep in context, because I mean, you think about this. This book came out in 1988 and still resonates to fans to this day, and it's still one of the original sequel fights that had been long overdue. and really gave the fans, that exciting moment that they've been wanting to see. But I love how Peter David switched it up and kind of added some more elements to it. So to get back to like, if there's something that I didn't like about it, the only thing that I didn't, because I don't think it was necessary per se, was the page with the leader. I didn't think was needed. I think they could have skipped over it, because I think they summed it up in a panel or two when it's Rick and Clay talking.
Yeah,
so
I can go with that.
They could completely skip.
You know what? You're absolutely right, because I completely forgot about it. Like that would be my bitch too.
Yeah,
complaint. Excuse me.
Yeah, like I say, that would be the only thing I would say. Like I really thought was unnecessary, but it didn't hurt it. But I just think that it's like, if you really want to give the fight, they really spent a lot of time on the fighting. And I think when they kind of threw in breaks in the action too, like we didn't need a lot of Rick and Clay, because we needed more so just let them go and let them fight. But I think that they didn't want to do a full action sequence. So it's one of those weird question marks of like, is taking a break in a situation like this necessary or forced? And I feel like maybe a couple panels I was like, you didn't really need to jump in here with this. And I also thought like the ending, while it made sense for Banner, it didn't make sense for Wolverine.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's something I was like, but granted, it's a Hulk book, so we always have to keep that in mind, that who's the star of the book. It's supposed to have more impact for them than the guest star. So that being said, like that was the only things I didn't like about it. I thought the script was very well done by Peter David. Todd McFarlane, early artwork here is, like we see, he's the architect of what we know as the current Spider-Man mystique, and then obviously what he's done with Spawn since.
Spaghetti wedding.
Like I say, like to see him just take hold of a character like Hulk and really give a action-packed issue, this thing is just something everybody can really kind of resonate with.
And not only the fact, but I do love the emaciated look that Joe Fixit has, as opposed to regular buff, full, happy Hulk.
Yeah. I like how they set it up too. Like I say, everything McFarlane did here, I thought just really elevated the character of Fixit to where it really stood out and didn't feel like just your average Hulk story, if that makes sense. I mean, even though with the new persona, it still was more than just Hulk smash.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they gave Hulk like some personality, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you can't just have somebody just constantly how many issues did this go over? 400, just saying smash. But the thing with Wolverine, I do feel like it was a little out of character for how he reacted at the end, but I also felt like it was because he was taking on a role that was out of character for him. So he was trying to be something that's unnatural for him. So his reaction to the like, yeah, you're right, and like kind of slouch was like, I think he's copying what he thinks Cyclops would do, I guess. That's the leader he knows of the X-Men that he's kind of used to. And as much as he hates Cyclops, he also respects Cyclops as a leader.
Yeah.
But I agree with the leader, going back to that page kind of took me out for a second. And I was like, oh, okay, we're doing this when I just wanted Hulk and Wolverine. But then I liked that it was such a brief page, though, like that we were right back to the story where we wanted
and for those of us 80s babies, sorry, Matt, you're out of this. I wasn't even 6 when this issue came out.
Wow, so ageist.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
I just looked at the release date, and it was
88, man. Yeah,
it was 88. So I mean, like I say, that time period though, and if you ever want to go back and reread that run, like I say, Peter David's run is just it's incredible, just for where he takes the character. And like I say, this is one of those standout moments that you have throughout this series, and there is quite a few from the entire run that he does. So definitely highly recommend that. But as always, we have to put a grade on this. And I know our guy in the chair put it in the chat, and obviously wherever you're watching us on, we want to know your grade if you've read this or where you based off what we discussed. Out of 10, what are you grading Incredible Hulk 340 from Marvel Comics? And we will start with Lauren. What is your grade on this issue?
I'm going to do a 9.5 out of 10.
Okay. Wow. What?
Whoa.
Biased.
I don't know. Look at her whole background. I mean, I'm just saying.
There's one Wolverine.
Tell you he's 90.
Yeah.
And there's only one blade.
It's only ever going to be one blade, too. So,
yes.
But we've had 3 Hulks, but that's neither here nor there.
Right. But 9.5 from Lauren. All right, that's fair. All right, Matt, how about you? What
Lauren
is your
gave
grade?
it a 9.5 out of 10?
Yep.
Oh, I heard 9. Oh, wow. Okay.
It was 9.5, correct, Lauren?
Okay. I was actually going to go 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
because you know, like I enjoyed it, but at the same time, yeah, it had like the leader in there, and it's just fight, and I'm okay. I like fight. Don't get me wrong, I like fight, but also like it's
But it was
not
a
pushing
fight
the
with
needle
substance.
forward at the same time. So like I am more than happy. I love the art. I really loved like all the things I've already talked about. But I just it's not a 9 and above comic at the same time, but I can still be very entertained by it.
No, that's completely fair. Tom?
Why do I got to be the guy that pisses in everybody's Cheerios?
Oh boy, here we go.
Oh,
It is as an Incredible Hulk book,
not so incredible.
7.5.
Oh wow. We just keep getting lower and lower. Oh
Oof.
man.
Hold on, and hear me out.
Oof.
Like I said at the beginning of this, I got more Wolverine out of this. Now, if the book was, from a different focus as the Wolverine versus Hulk, it would be higher. But I think that they had put so much context into where Wolverine was as the guest star, as Ken said, that's what brought it down. Even the leader part brought it down. So as a Hulk book, 7.5.
Okay.
That is an interesting
Interesting.
perspective.
I take it you didn't like Book of Boba Fett because
the
Mandalorian
way.
stole the show.
I love all Star Wars. It's 9.99.
Okay.
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 So
Even the holiday special.
So I'm interested to see
Wow,
Ken's
wow.
now. This is gonna be good.
he just threw me off saying the holiday special is
Dude, it's a great
9.9.
drinking game.
Yeah, okay.
We've done that before.
I cannot watch.
Lauren and I have done it
Jimmy's
before.
son's eyes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's
Oh, man.
terrible.
So for me, I looked at it like this. Seeing the rematch with a new Hulk persona was one that was going to be very hit or miss. We could either have a standalone story that will stand the test of time, or it's going to misfire because of just obviously the characters are in two different places. It's trying to recapture the magic. Sometimes you can do it with a sequel, sometimes you can't. With Peter David writing, he took a real unique perspective on Wolverine, but he also mixed it in with what he'd been building with the Hulk, and that is adding more layers to his character throughout that entire run. And to see how one of his greatest rivals appears in his life and comes at him with a different perspective because of what's happening in his own book, I thought they blended it well enough that they gave us big action with Todd McFarlane's art and really gave that, like I say, big fight feel. I can't say enough about like this was a big deal. So to see this all come together, I thought was very well done. However, with the ending, it kind of felt like the balloon had all the air taken out of it. And I think with certain elements that they put in, like the leader page, which I don't think was necessary, plus the Betty Ross bookends that they did, but albeit though it was needed if you're a Hulk reader, I think it kind of took away from the actual moment of it. But all that being said, this still was a moment that stood out in Marvel history. It's one that's been imitated many times, even in the Ultimate Universe, which I still don't remember if they actually fixed when Hulk ripped Wolverine in half and threw him halfway around the world. Because
What?
So when Ethan
He was
had to
a
go
little
like
tiny
his
whiny.
legs,
they're
he's like his legs aren't gonna go.
Yeah,
back.
the original Ultimates universe, I should say, original, not the current one.
Oh.
But I think for what it did, it gave fans a lot of excitement at the time, and it's one that still stands up to this day because to see where Wolverine is, one of the biggest pop culture icons we have, and especially coming off the heels of Deadpool Wolverine, where we see him connect with a new audience, it's hard to believe. I think this one really stands up to go give a very good definition about the relationship with Wolverine. I gave it an 8.8. I think, yep.
Wow, that's
Oh,
actually
8.8.
that's a little
I
higher than I
watched
thought you were gonna go. Okay.
Well, because for me, this delivered on the fight that it was expected to. Because sometimes when you get the two heroes together, a lot of times, remember, it's like 3 pages of them fighting, and then somebody yells Martha, and then everybody teams up, and it's happily ever after. And I think in this situation, they said, no, we're really going to have a fight. Albeit, though, the ending, it makes sense because if you read the Hulk, it makes sense. But if you're just coming in like this is your first time reading it, it's going to throw you off. So I understand Tom's grade completely. But for me, like this, I've read some of the Peter David stuff, and I really like it. I've even read the X Factor crossover, which I think is better, to be honest with you. There's a lot that if you read the storyline and how he writes Joe Fixit, it makes a lot more sense. So that's where I'm coming with it. But for getting a big fight, like we actually had a real fight with blood and no punches pulled. And that's what I wanted to see, especially in this time in the 80s.
Yeah.
We have to remember too, this is not what we see in current day and age of comic books.
No bubs were given.
Yeah, like they really pushed
8.8 out of 8 bubs.
Yep, they pushed the envelope with this one, but that's why I say I think everybody should definitely take a read. And if you really like this, I recommend going back and reading a lot of the Peter David stuff.
Watch him fight.
It's really groundbreaking stuff. And if you like that too, if you want to see him have a great mutant take, his X Factor stuff is very, very good. But you can all pick that up at the comic shops this week because, ironically, tomorrow is New Comic Book Day.
New Comic Book Day!
And obviously, nobody does New Comic Book Day reviews like the Nerd Initiative Bullpen, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We kick things off, so we'll start with our panel here. We'll go with Tom first. Tom, what are you recommending to everybody this week?
Do you want to talk action? Do you want to talk excitement? Let me tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know why I started sounding like an 80s Crazy Eddie commercial, but honest to goodness, right now, G.I. Joe and Skybound are killing it. I got to say, Scarlet #3, it is so good. Like, honestly, there is so much action in this book. It is a blink. It's neck snapping. Kelly Thompson and the team are killing it over there. And trust me, I'm hooked. Like, seriously, Scarlet has me in her targets right now with a crossbow. That's all I got to say.
That's high praise too. Is like I say, Tom is all in about the Energon universe. I think a lot of people are too.
Till all are one.
Oh yes, Matt, what are you picking up this week at the shops?
Man, there's one particular comic book that wraps up this week, the little 4-story arc. It is by Magma Comics. It is the Principles of Necromancy from the Hive Mind, Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly and Eamon Winkle, who Eamon Winkle is absolutely making a name for himself. You're going to see his artwork in a lot more comic books coming up, man. This was, for horror fans everywhere, probably the best horror comic I have actually read in years. And it's bloody. It actually has some like really good twists that, M. Night Shyamalan's probably going to be, taking notes from later on.
What a twist.
Yes, it was really good, man. This is, the Hive Mind is known for their jokey, kind of takes on, they've been doing a lot of good things in The Outsiders and Thunderbolts. And so to see this is quite the contrast to that. And man, it is absolutely good. It wraps up and I cannot wait to get more. Pick this up. Trust me, Magma Comics, this is their debut run. And man, they're off to a good start.
All right. I mean, yeah, Magma's doing really good things too. They have another book coming out too, which you'll have to read in the Nerd Initiative Bullpen this week as well too. So definitely give a little tease for that. Lauren, what are you picking up at the shops this week?
So I'm picking up Wolverine Deep Cut.
Surprise!
So this is the perfect time to pick a comic like this. So this isn't just a new comic. It is a new comic, but it is a spin-off of the Uncanny X-Men 227. And Chris Claremont, who wrote Uncanny X-Men, the originals, like these comics are 30 years old, he's writing this story now. He recently did Madripoor Nights, which was a spinoff of another one. And I feel like, especially after Deadpool and Wolverine, this is such a perfect time to go back to the old comics like we just did with The Incredible Hulk, and to also check out these new comics. And it's so fun because these are fresh stories that take place during these classic comics. So this one, in issue 1, Sabretooth showed up to ruin Logan's birthday like he always does, although this year Logan was prepared because he wanted to, he's always trying to kill his kids or the love of his life or something like that. So Wolverine is able to stop him, but then he finds out there's somebody else behind Sabretooth that is the real culprit, and he is on a mission to get to that person. I'm not going to spoil and say who it is, but the bad guys in this issue were a lot of fun because they were a group of bad guys with very unique powers, and the way that they were drawn was really kind of beautiful and also like caused like crazy fight scenes with Wolverine. So again, highly recommend this one. It's Chris Claremont and Edgar Salazar. Beautiful comic, a lot of fun, classics, a new story on a classic story. So there you
can't
go.
go wrong with any Wolverine, especially Chris Claremont writing. So for me, this honestly was one of the hardest choices this week because Image has 2 monster books coming out, the Power Fantasy and Cowl 1964 #1. Like both those books are going to be ones to go check out. The Pedestrian is coming out from Magma Comics too, so that's another great one. That's one I was kind of alluding to as well. But there's one that it's kind of fitting what we're talking about too tonight a little bit because we are talking X-Men, and hitting the shops is
Yeah.
Uncanny X-Men #1, Gail Simone and David Marquez. This is going to be one I think a lot of fans are going to be very, very excited to go check out. Gail Simone's writing, I think, is top tier. Like I say, everything she's done, Secret Six to Birds of Prey and all points in between, is absolute wins. And to see her take the X-Men franchise into the new era from the Krakoan Ashes, I am very, very excited to see where things are going. Like right now, everything that has been coming out of the X-Men line has been hit after hit after hit. And if you have been kind of wanting to get back into the X universe because of X-Men 97 or Deadpool Wolverine, this is a perfect time to get in. It's very reader friendly to jump in any of the books right now because they're going to be loading up like it's the 90s again with a lot of stories, a lot of great characters coming out. I know San Diego Comic-Con was revealing about a couple things coming out as well too. So there's stuff planned throughout the rest of the year, but this is going to be one that I when you hear Uncanny X-Men, for me as a longtime reader, this is what sells me on it. This is like the flagship title. And to see what they're doing, like I'm just going to say, you'll have to read the review at 9 a.m. tomorrow because I'm so worried I'm going to say any spoilers right now. It's yeah, we'll be talking about that tomorrow.
Just start paying the bills.
Yeah, I know. I'm but that's why I say if you want to hear about what you need to pick up at the comic shops each week, simple, nerdinitiative.com, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, every 15 minutes until we drop. We have reviews coming from the best of the week. So you want to make sure you hit and refresh, put that RSS feed in your computers, your save files, wherever you need to put it. You don't want to miss all the reviews coming out from the hardest working team in independent comics reporting. And obviously nobody does new comic book day reviews like the Nerd Initiative Bullpen. Nobody. So that being said, Matt, Lauren, why don't you tell everybody what's going on with you and Hopskeeks News that you're back from vacation?
Ooh, lad, we are back. We are champions. And we just dropped a Deadpool and Wolverine spoiler-filled review on our feeds this week. And I think we're figuring out, we're trying to get back on our routine. We're answering emails. We're getting back into it. A little behind, but we're playing catch up. But you know what? We're back now. Got some big things coming. Now that I'm especially going to be here in the fall and winter, we're putting out our plans there. So everybody, just Hopskeek News, man, please give us a follow. Come hang out with us. And it's fun. We had a really great trip, and it was honestly we're already planning our next one. So we already booked the placeholder for the next cruise.
So we will be back.
Right on, but well deserved, and we're glad to have you guys back at the bullpen. Which I mean, they were still, like to say, this is how hard Matt and Lauren worked. They were still dropping reviews in before they went on vacation to make sure that you guys knew what books to pick up this week. So definitely shout out to them. And obviously, Tom, why don't you tell everybody what's going on with you and TV Talk?
So TV Talk right now, we have actually started planning things out. So we're going to be doing Umbrella Academy. We're going to be breaking up the final season into 2 weeks. And then I'm going to have a little fun before Agatha. And we're going to do Agatha for the next few weeks. We're just going to have some genuine fun with it. And I just want to make sure everybody just follows along, listen, chat, whatever you guys got to do. I'm having a blast doing this. I know I'm spastic when I talk TV, and that's exactly why I like to do it. On top of that, we are less than 3 weeks away from Power Morphicon, ladies and gentlemen. And I have all those kinds of great stuff all set up. I've got fantastic Ranger actors. I know I've got an episode of Power Chamber Chat coming up soon with Catherine Sutherland. And then after that, I've got Ranger Station in September, and then New York Comic-Con. And the whole time, this guy's just going, Power Rangers. But either way, check out the QR code, do the thing. And I'm always around.
Yes, this is true. No, nobody covers Power Rangers like Tom, so definitely excited to see what he's got from Power Morphicon.
And I don't wear the spandex, just saying.
Yes.
Be a lot cooler if you did, though.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So that being said, let me give a shout out to our guy in the chair too, because I mean, Rich has been killing it with the reviews too. I know he's got one coming for the Deviant that is his pick this week from Image Comics. But if you want to find out what's going on, him just did a great movie review with an adult humor flair on 3FM podcast. So you definitely want to make sure you're clicking on that QR code. Go check out what he's doing there. And then for yours truly, odphpodcast.com. If you're new to Nerd Initiative, one thing we do, we love our QR codes. So you want to click on that QR code, and I'll take you where you need to go to hear about the parlay of topics. One episode dropping this week, and a few other things on the way. So stay tuned. And then obviously we can't scream it enough with Wrestling Night Live every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, giving you the latest and greatest in the world of pro wrestling. And then this is all coming off the heels of New Comic Book Day. And I can't stress it enough because I will say it till I'm blue in the face. Nobody does New Comic Book Day like the Nerd Initiative Bullpen. Nobody. Often imitated, never duplicated. And that is for a fact, folks. So that being said, obviously we want everybody to go check out nerdinitiative.com, the home of pop culture positivity, because we have fandoms dropping left and right. So if your fandom is action figures and toys, we got a fandom channel for that. If you want to talk comics, well, enough said. If you want to talk pro wrestling, boom, done. You want to talk movies, TV, and more? Oh, trust me, we got that covered and then some. And even some more things that I'm not allowed to talk yet. Hopefully soon. Hopefully very soon.
Ooh.
So if you want to stay tuned for that, put that bookmark in your web browser, nerdinitiative.com, and definitely hit that refresh button quite often because we always have stuff dropping. So you don't want to miss any moment of the positivity. And of course, because we have merch, and we alluded to, there's a lot of cons going on in this fall. So Nerd Initiative merchandise. So if you want to go wear and support the brand out, that's the place to go. Go get a shirt, get a hat, get a cooler, get a whatever they're selling. Like, they got so much stuff there. I lose track.
Goods.
Yeah, there's certain page stuff. There's Wrestling Night Live stuff. There's just regular logo stuff. There's a lot there. So go click on it. Because go support the brand in that way. It definitely means a lot. And last but certainly not least, there's a homework assignment because we just grew subscribers up while we're talking tonight. So I love seeing that go up on the count. We want to say it's great that you follow us on Facebook. It's great you follow us on Twitch, on Twitter, and wherever you're following us. But Nerd Initiative YouTube is the place you want to make sure you hit that subscribe button. Click the bell notification so you don't miss any minute of when stuff goes live, and tap that thumbs up to let our boss Michael know that you love what you're seeing here at Nerd Initiative and you want to see more of it, because there is exclusive stuff that is just coming to YouTube. It's not going to be anywhere else. So you don't want to be missing out on it. You want to make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's a free thing. Click, boom, done. That's all you do. And then you won't miss a moment of the content. It's that simple, folks.
Are you calling me simple?
Well, I like to say it's a very simple process, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yes. But that being said, on behalf of the bullpen, thank you for checking us out for another edition of Turn a Page. And always remember, when you're at the comic shop and you have a great issue in your hand, such as Incredible Hulk number 340 from Marvel Comics, and you see somebody struggling to find something at the shelf, hand yours off to them. Tell them to turn a page. We'll see you next week.
I'm out.
Boom.